September 16, 1943. The humid air over Bougainville hangs thick and motionless as Captain James "Jimmy" Sweat watches a plume of black smoke spiral downward into the dense jungle canopy. An F-4U Corsair, flown by his own wingman, has just disappeared beneath the treetops. The pilot's final scream was cut off mid-sentence. Another life gone, another aircraft lost. And it is the third one that Marine Fighter Squadron 213 has lost within a single week. These pilots are not losing aircraft because the Japanese have superior fighters. They are not losing them because of mechanical faults or engine failures. They are losing them because their guns are firing thousands of rounds that never find their mark. Captain Sweat has the evidence filmed clearly in his own gun camera footage. He sees the tracers fly in a perfect cage around the enemy aircraft. Above the target, below it, to both sides. A perfect ring of death with nothing striking the center. He fired 400 rounds in that engagement, and the enemy Zero slipped through untouched. 2 minutes later, that same Zero circled back and shot down his wingman. Across Marine squadrons in the South Pacific, the numbers are grim. The F-4U Corsair is fast, heavily armed, and feared. Yet Marine pilots are achieving only a 3-to-2 kill ratio against Japanese fighters. That is unacceptable for an aircraft carrying 6 Browning M250 caliber machine guns with a combined ammunition load of 3,000 rounds. 25 seconds of continuous fire, enough to shred any aircraft in the sky, in theory. Yet pilots are burning through all their ammunition and scoring perhaps 1 hit for every 50 rounds fired. The problem is not the pilots. The problem is not the guns. The problem is the point where all 6 guns are supposed to converge and create a concentrated zone of destruction. That zone, set by factory specifications, is placed at 1,000 feet. At that range, bullets disperse into a 30-foot circle. Japanese Zeros, with wings only 29 feet across, are slipping through that circle with deadly predictability. Marine Fighter Squadron 213, known as the Hellhawks, has the worst ammunition to-kill ratio in the entire Pacific. They expend nearly 900 rounds for every confirmed enemy aircraft destroyed. At this rate, the squadron will run out of ammunition long before they run out of Japanese fighters. Major Gregory Pappy Boyington, temporarily visiting from another unit, watches Sweat's gun camera film and shakes his head. He tells the pilots that they are firing at empty air. Their bullets are passing everywhere except through the enemy. What Captain Sweat and the rest of the pilots do not yet realize is that the solution is standing quietly in the maintenance tent only a few yards away. A 26-year-old aviation ordnance man with no engineering degree and no formal design training is studying the same gun camera film. His name is Staff Sergeant Michael "Mickey" McCarthy, and he loads ammunition for a living. But the idea forming in his mind is about to transform the Corsair from a good fighter into a terrifying weapon of precision. Gun harmonization has been a standard practice since the First World War. When aircraft use wing-mounted guns, those guns cannot point straight ahead. They must angle inward to meet at a specific distance in front of the aircraft. That point of convergence is supposed to be where all the bullets strike the same spot. If a pilot fires at an enemy crossing that zone, the effect is devastating, but the problem is choosing the right distance. Factory engineers at Vought Aircraft calibrate the Corsair's convergence to 1,000 feet. Their reasoning is that pilots need enough distance to aim, lead the target, and deliver a long burst. But they are designing firearms on paper, not analyzing real combat. In actual dogfights, pilots engage enemies at 200 to 400 yards. At those distances, the dispersion pattern is so wide that enemy aircraft slip through without receiving lethal hits. Marine squadrons begin experimenting. Some adjust convergence to 800 feet, others to 600. Small improvements appear, but nothing truly changes. Engineers insist that no fighter aircraft should ever set convergence below 500 feet. They claim that mounting brackets cannot withstand the stress from the increased angle. They warn that the wings will crack and the guns will tear themselves loose under recoil. Lieutenant Colonel Millington, in charge of operations for the group, issues a memo declaring that any convergence under 500 feet is unsafe, illegal, and absolutely forbidden. But none of these theoretical safety concerns matter to the pilots who are dying in the skies. September becomes one of the deadliest months of the campaign. Dozens of aircraft are shot down because pilots emptied their guns without scoring a concentrated burst. Japanese radio intercepts revealed that enemy pilots openly mock the Corsairs' scattered fire. They tell their squadrons to stay close, to bait the Marines into wasting ammunition, and to attack once the American guns fall silent. Air superiority in the Solomon Islands is vital. Without it, the island-hopping campaign falters. Casualties rise, the war stretches longer. Something must change immediately. Staff Sergeant McCarthy is not supposed to propose solutions. He is an enlisted man, responsible for maintaining guns, not redesigning them. But after watching Captain Sweat's film on September 17th, he feels compelled to investigate the problem himself. He asks to see the Corsair's technical manual on gun harmonization. It is a request so unusual that the armory clerk hands him the manual with a confused expression. Ordnance men do not study engineering documents, but McCarthy reads the manual carefully. Then he walks out to the aircraft and begins measuring. He measures the distance between gun mounts. He measures their angles. He calculates the geometry in his head using the same logic he learned while repairing cars in his father's garage. And then he sees it. The problem is not bad aiming. The problem is time. At 1,000 feet, bullets take nearly a full second to reach the target. In that second, a zero moving at 300 miles an hour travels more than 400 feet. Pilots are firing at where the enemy was, not where the enemy is. However, at 300 feet, bullets take only a third of a second to reach the target. At that range, the enemy moves only 50 feet. Hit probability skyrockets. Even more important, at that distance, all 6 guns create a narrow, devastating column of fire that can destroy an aircraft in a single burst. McCarthy runs the calculations again. He calculates the combined force of 80 rounds from 6 guns hitting a tight area in a single second. The numbers show overwhelming destructive power, enough to tear a Zero apart instantly. There is only one obstacle. The modification is forbidden. But McCarthy is not thinking about regulations. He is thinking about the pilots he watches take off each morning, some of whom never return. He is thinking about the Zero that shot down Sweat's wingman 2 days earlier. And he decides that the risk of punishment is nothing compared to the cost of doing nothing. On the night of September 18th, he rolls Captain Sweat's Corsair into the hangar and begins working. He cuts steel from a damaged panel, shapes reinforcement plates by hand, and welds them onto the mounting brackets. He adjusts the angle of each gun individually. He builds a wooden jig to ensure perfect alignment. By dawn, he has reharmonized all 6 guns to converge at exactly 300 feet. When Sweat arrives the next morning, he immediately notices the steeper angles on the gun barrels. He confronts McCarthy, who stands at attention and admits exactly what he has done. Sweat reminds him that the modification is forbidden and that both of them could be. McCarthy answers with complete honesty. If the modification fails, both men will face punishment. If it works, the squadron will survive. Sweat climbs into the cockpit. He tells McCarthy that he hopes the sergeant is right. Only a few hours later, Sweat and several other pilots intercept a formation of Japanese Zeros. Sweat closes in 320 feet. 300 feet. He fires a single burst. The Zero disintegrates. In that moment, he knows McCarthy was right. He destroys 3 enemy aircraft in under a minute and returns with more than half his ammunition still loaded. The entire squadron gathers around the aircraft in stunned silence. The officers argue. Engineering staff protests. Pilots demand the modification. McCarthy admits openly what he has done. Major Britt listens to all sides before asking McCarthy a single question. Can he modify every aircraft in the squadron by morning? McCarthy says yes. The maintenance hangar roars with activity through the night. McCarthy and his small crew work without pause. They reinforce brackets. They realign barrels. They bore sight. When dawn breaks over Bougainville, the entire squadron is armed with a new level of lethality that the Japanese have never faced. Late that morning, 8 Corsairs rise into the sky and intercept a formation of Japanese bombers escorted by fighters. The first pilot to engage is Lieutenant Robert Hansen. He closes to 300 feet and fires. A Japanese bomber erupts into flames and falls from the sky. He pivots, targets a Zero, and fires again. A single burst rips the cockpit apart. 2 kills in 15 seconds. The battle lasts barely 12 minutes. The squadron shoots down 15 enemy aircraft without losing a single Corsair. Gun camera footage tells the story clearly. At 300 feet, the Corsair's guns no longer create a scattered pattern. The tracers form a solid beam of death. Japanese aircraft break apart under the concentration of fire before the pilot even completes the burst. News spreads rapidly. Marine squadrons across the region request the same modification. Boyington's Black Sheep adopt it. Soon, every Corsair in the Pacific is harmonized to 300 feet. The kill ratios change instantly. Ammunition efficiency improves dramatically. Pilots who once struggled to land a single kill now down multiple aircraft in a single mission. Captain Sweat shoots down 6 Zeros in one engagement. Hansen shoots down 5 in one mission and 3 more that afternoon. Japanese pilots report that the Corsair's guns have changed completely. They describe the American firepower as a solid wall that cannot be avoided. Some Japanese officers even order their pilots to ram Corsairs rather than attempt evasive maneuvers. Between September and December, the modification saves hundreds of Marine lives. It changes the outcome of entire operations. And yet officially the credit goes to engineering departments far removed from combat. McCarthy receives no commendation. His name appears nowhere in the official records. He simply continues loading ammunition and maintaining guns. After the war, McCarthy returns home, opens a garage, and lives a quiet life. He never boasts. He never tells customers that he changed the balance of aerial combat. When asked what he did during the war, he shrugs and says that he loaded ammunition. Meanwhile, the pilots who survived because of him write in their memoirs that he deserved a Navy Cross. They say he made them aces. They say he saved their lives. The principle he discovered remains fundamental even in modern aviation. Concentrate firepower at the range where combat truly happens. Do not spread bullets across a wide pattern at unrealistic distances. Make every burst count. McCarthy passed away in 1979. His name appeared in small letters on a plaque recognizing unsung heroes of marine aviation. No elaborate description, no lengthy tribute, but every pilot who sees that plaque knows exactly who he was and what he did. His story is a reminder that courage takes many forms. Sometimes courage is not pulling a trigger. Sometimes courage is turning a wrench. Sometimes victory depends not on rank or regulations, but on the willingness to challenge assumptions and do what needs to be done, even when no one else will. McCarthy saved lives, not by firing guns, but by making them work the way they always should have worked. His innovation turned the Corsair into the deadliest fighter in the Pacific. His decision allowed hundreds of Marines to come home. If you believe that greatness can come from anywhere, if you believe that a single act of ingenuity can shape the course of history, remember Mickey McCarthy. Remember that sometimes the most powerful weapon on the battlefield is not the aircraft or the engine or the ammunition. Sometimes it is the mind that understands how to bring all of it together. Before we end, what do you think modern militaries could learn from McCarthy's story? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more true stories of forgotten heroes who changed the world, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this video. Your support keeps these stories alive.